Hello, I'm Taylor Hannah. Welcome to Western Perspective. Tonight, they're the party that claim they have the guts to say what you're thinking. One Nation has been in the spotlight during this federal election campaign with controversy, as they battle other minor parties with what they say are common sense policies outside of their media image. Tonight we talk to One Nation leader Pauline Hanson as we bring you part 2 of our series on the Fringe.
Pauline Hanson, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure, thank you.
Let's begin with a bit of a deja vu, shall we? What brings you to Western Australia?
I'm over here to support my candidates that are standing in the 2019 federal election. And I think it's very important. I've had Senator Peter Giorgio working with me in the chamber, and I think he needs to win his seat again at this election to continue working extremely hard for Western Australia.
Let's talk about some more important issues before we talk about youthful issues and all the other issues that will affect voters.
Yep.
Your party has gone through quite a bit of setback recently. First, the issues was aired on Al Jazeera, then your colleagues' unfortunate encounterment. But then the interesting thing is, it seems because Labor has one of its candidates disendorsed, I think you know that, so does the Liberal Party. Do you believe your party has been hard done by?
They seem to have focused very strongly on my one candidate that has been disendorsed, and they haven't spoken about the 11 that have been disendorsed from the Liberal National Party and 3 from the Labor Party, and actually a Green as well. So a Green goes out and says police should be murdered. It's ridiculous what they're actually saying, and this has been swept under the carpet. So One Nation is a real threat to the major political parties, and that's why they focus on us.
Okay, now, when it comes to setbacks, I believe that you're more of a get-up-and-go person again, so how did you deal with it?
How do I deal with it? You be upfront and honest with the people. You talk about it. And I make the decisions. I'm leader of a political party, and then I make the decisions that I need to make. And it was unacceptable what happened, what I saw, and I made the decision that he should be disendorsed out of that position.
Youth voters are very progressive. You know that very well. A lot of them are. Not all of them are, but a lot of them are. Now, why should they consider One Nation? Because One Nation is on the other side of the political spectrum.
Well, I don't think. I think One Nation is raising the issues that people are very concerned about. Right? I've spoken very strongly about immigration, about the future, the youth, about jobs, the unemployment, high electricity prices, cost of living, drugs is another big issue. So these things I've spoken strongly about, family law matters and water in Australia. So these are policies that people feel are never really discussed by the major political parties. If you look at the debate that's been held by the leaders, Bill Shorten and Scott Morrison, these 3 debates, when did they ever discuss about immigration, about water in Australia, or the rising cost of electricity? Really, did they debate that? That's of concern to the people.
Because when it comes to immigration, just very quickly, is that economy is very reliant on immigration, on property investment and all the others. Your plan to cut immigration, how are you sure that it's not going to hurt the economy?
If you think that by having high immigration is good for the economy, you're wrong, because it's a Ponzi scheme. You can't keep bringing in more and more people into the country because sometime it has to stop. So therefore they've actually bring in high immigration just to prop up the economy with the GDP. That's not right. You should build a strong economy with industry, manufacturing, jobs, and that's what we have failed to do.
Okay, now let's talk about Tyler Walsh, Peter Giorgio. Peter Giorgio, we just covered on our lead story tonight, and Tyler Walsh a couple of weeks ago. Is it the trend for One Nation now, picking young candidates and trying to appeal to them?
Oh, definitely not. I don't go picking people on age or their sex, because I don't believe I'm going to have people stand as candidates for my party purely based whether they're a female, what the major political parties do. It should be on a merit-based, what they have to offer. Have they got the grit, to actually get out there and represent the people. Doesn't matter what age a person is, whether they're 20, 21, or whether they're 70. If they really have the passion to represent the people, they should all be given the opportunity.
Last year, you remember, there's a little bit of a heated exchange. We talked about free university. Greens believe that university should be free. A lot of young people still believe uni should be free. Now, the reason of me asking that question last time was because a lot of young people are in debt. So, why it still shouldn't be free? Do you still hold that view that you held last year?
Wouldn't it be lovely if we can have everything free, whether it be our dental, whether it be health? Let's make nursing homes free. It'd be wonderful if we can, but we can't. We're not a society that is rich to the point that we can give everything free. And if it is given free, then it is taken advantage of. And maybe if people have to work for it and pay for it and respect the taxpayers' dollars, that's giving them the opportunity to actually go to university. And don't forget, taxpayers are in debt to the tune of about $50 billion. That's $50,000 million in debt from those people who've had the opportunity to go to university but haven't paid back the taxpayers, but could have gone on to get good jobs. So these people who are paying their taxes, even probably those kids that left school at 15, 16, they work and pay their taxes to give someone an opportunity to go to university, study and get a good job for their life. Is that fair on them?
So you believe that it's more of a fairness issue when it comes to...
Of course you have to be fair about it, everyone wants decent health care and medical, provide the hospital beds. That money's got to come from somewhere. We've got to look after the aged, the sick, the disabled. That's got to come from somewhere, the money. You don't just, even if you have your own home, bills have to be paid. And the same as universities.
Now, let's go to climate change. Very, very prominent among young people. The Greens says this election is fight on climate change. If you don't mind, I ask you like this. Do you believe in climate change?
The climate is changing by all means, as it has done over the centuries, for thousands of years. But if you think that it's changing purely based on man, you're wrong. Because years ago, I remember Australia, if we go back in history, we had dinosaurs here. There was water all in inland Australia. We had an inland sea. There was no industries, there was no cars, there was no people. Climate changed as we've had ice age, and we're still going to have those changes. If you think that we're only getting cyclones now, we never have had it in the past, don't fool yourself. Even high temperatures. In the late 1800s, we had higher temperatures than what we are having now. It's been a concerted effort by people to push this climate change that it's purely based on who can make money out of it. And the real science, if you have scientists that are coming up with these, predictions, what they're saying, like Tim Flannery said, it will never rain again. The dams will never be filled. He wasn't right. Even Al Gore has made predictions have never come true. Even our scientist, chief scientist in Australia, said that, if you stopped all industry, cars and everything, it would never make one bit of difference to our climate. So it's all been about focusing on people becoming very rich at the expense of a lot of other Australians.
A lot of students were protesting on the streets recently. Not once, not twice, but 3 times, and there will be many more in my belief. They are very concerned. Do you acknowledge their concerns?
I asked a child of what was the youngest one in interview? 9, 10? What would they know about it? Only what they've been told or what's been filled in their head. If you talk to the older generation, I'd rather talk to someone who's about 70 or 80 or 90, who can tell you more about climate change, have seen it and lived it, not someone who's actually had their head filled by the teachers or people pushing their own agenda who haven't really listened to it. We're hearing science from both sides, people who are opposed to climate change and those that are saying there is climate change. Both sides are scientists. Where is the peer review? Has it ever been carried out? Or filled it? No, it hasn't.
So you believe that they've been misinformed?
Well, I'll say to a lot of these kids out there protesting, they're worried about the future and they're worried about the planet. Isn't it a shame that they don't worry about their own bodies before they start pill pop, taking these drugs? So, they want to start worrying. If they're really worried about, the climate and the planet and the impact it's going to have on them, well, then I'd say to them, start looking at yourselves and stop taking the drugs, because here in Western Australia, it is actually the meth capital of the world. So that's a big problem that we have. And I'm more worried about the drugs out there than I'm worried about climate change.
What about Clive?
What about Clive?
He has a big money war chest against you and pitching towards the same voters. Why would they choose you? Why would they choose Clive, in your view?
My track record on the floor of Parliament is that I'm there more often than what Clive Palmer ever was, and I think I've actually been able to make a lot of changes, whether it be for the farming sector, would it be for the code of conduct for the cane growers, family law that I've actually got on the agenda. I've got business contracts for the small to medium-sized businesses with the Defence Force. We actually were instrumental in get the Senate inquiry up into the banking, which went on to the Royal Commission. I can name a lot more that we've been able to. Here in WA, Peter Giorgio was very instrumental in the GST. He never gave up on it till we actually had change there. To do with that, we got the MRI machine for Kalgoorlie. We question about the gas off the Northwest Shelf, which we're pushing for royalties to be paid. So there's a lot of things that One Nation has done and proven ourselves, and a lot more than what Clive Palmer has ever been able to do.
You don't trust him one bit, do you?
Clive Palmer?
Yeah. Do you trust him?
Do I trust him that he's there for the people?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Okay, so
that's the difference.
Based on what track record, is it the issues they had before didn't pay his workers, or?
Well, he hasn't paid his workers. No, he hasn't. And Chloe, it's okay. I can raise a lot of issues, and yes, I would dearly love to be able to give pensioners, $500 a week. You can make all these promises out there, but you've got to have clear, common sense economic policies that you can actually follow through with. And you can throw all these wishes around, but where's his policies? He's not offering solutions. And it's about, buying people's votes. People are sick and tired of the same old rhetoric or the lies or the glib or this salesman out there that's doing a pitch to you, trying to sell you this brand new car. At the end of the day, unless you follow through and you've got people that are on the floor of Parliament who have the heart and the passion and really care about this country, and if they can't do it, then you tell the people, no, I can't do it. Don't lie to people, because there's too many people suffering, the homeless, the pensioners, the sick, the people that need the care and attention. And you talk about university students. Yes, I'd love to give them every opportunity to actually further their lives. But unless you've got the economic stability in this country, you will not be able to do a damn thing.
Now, we're about to conclude this interview. So let me first ask you this way. What's your assurance to WA's young voters?
My assurance is that I'll be pushing for them to have a life where they have the opportunities that I did when I was younger. That's what I want. The opportunities for jobs, the opportunities for family stability, the opportunity, for a future that their dreams and aspirations are not just, thrown into the gutter. I want to see kids out there not needing or wanting to take drugs, that if they want to get into whatever profession they have that opportunity. There's so many things that these young ones need. But, the old saying is, and this is what we need to do, is that you can feed a man a fish, but you'll only feed him for a day. But if you teach him how to fish, you'll feed him for a lifetime. And that's what we have to do with the younger generations, is to teach them how to actually stand on their own 2 feet, take responsibility for their own actions, and don't rely on drugs and stand, and feel that they can reach their aspirations in life.
Okay, so you're here for 28 hours, Pauline. So
yep.
A very lightning strategy. Do you believe that's going to work finally?
I may be here for 28 hours in this visit, but it's not my first and only visit to Western Australia. I've been here many times beforehand, and I will be here many times again. But the fact is that people all over the country, all my candidates in whatever state, would like to see me there, and they need my support. And that's why I've taken the time to make sure I visited WA, because WA, although you're a long way away from the East Coast, you know, is still part of Australia. And I have grave concerns for Western Australia, and I want to represent Western Australia on the floor of Parliament.
Pauline Hanson, we're out of time, but thank you so much for talking to us today.
Thank you very much.
Next week we will bring you an analysis of the result of the federal election. Until then, Ivan and Danny, it's back to you.
Thank you, Taylor. And that's our news for this week. We'll have the latest news on our new website and Facebook page.
Don't forget to join us next week for a special edition of the results on the federal election. Until then, good evening.
Good night.